Most people are actually great at spending, right? They're really good at spending money. They can spend money like an Olympic athlete, right? They are like top of their game. They're spending money like they're in Congress. How can you be so good on the spending end of the spectrum, but so terrible at savings? Today, I'm going to let you in on a secret of the 1% and answer a pivotal question. Is it possible to actually make and save money while spending your hard-earned dollars? There's an old saying that says you have to spend money to make money. And, in many cases, that's actually very true. If you're in a business and you own a business, sure, we have to spend money to make money. If you're an investor, you put a little money out there. Hopefully you can put it to work and hopefully it makes you some money. Maybe you own some property and you're doing some renovations and repairs, and hopefully at the end of it all, the property's worth a little bit more money. Sure, you have to spend money to make money, but that's not actually possible for most people. It's not really true for your average worker. I mean, most people go to work, they have a job, and the money that they make, sure, they have to spend it, but they have to spend it just to stay alive. They have to spend it to live, to pay their bills. So they're not spending money in a fashion in which they're putting it out there and then it's retrieving them more dollar bills, right? They're just spending it, and once they spend it, it's actually gone. So they're not spending money to make money, at least not in the case of your average bear. The thing is, we love to spend money. We know that. I mean, we can see that. The statistics in life all show that everyone loves to spend money. But on the other side of the coin, we also love to have money, right? I live here in Las Vegas, and sometimes I'll have a meeting at one of the casinos and I'll be walking through the casino floor and you hear someone pull that slot machine and cha-ching and they light up. I mean, they're like, yes, money is coming to me. I just won, right? And this happens all the time. So when we get money in a birthday card we weren't expecting, or maybe a little bonus at work in our check, when we receive money, we love it. We love having money. But for some reason, we love to spend it so much that it also burns a hole in our hot little pockets, and we have to put it right back out there into the world. Only the average person, once again, is not spending money to make money. They're spending to spend. How do we find a balance? Now, one of the things I like to do with this program right here with you watching the Almost Criminal Millionaire is to teach you something. I love to teach, and I love to teach, I guess, because I love to learn. And for me, this is a learning experience too. I'm constantly out there studying, trying to find new methods and new topics and exploring finances deeper than I ever have before, so that hopefully I can learn something and then show you. Speaking of liking to teach, if you like the topic of money and enjoy finance and want to learn more about it, then please feel free to like and subscribe at any point during this video. And also feel free to leave a comment. If there's something you don't understand or something you'd like to know more about, or maybe a future topic that you want me to chime in on, then please leave a comment below. Back to how to find this balance on how to actually spend less money and maybe start to save more, but also what do we do with it when we save it? So all I can do is show you what I do. What does Daniel do on a daily basis? And I've decided to kind of sort of lay out my spending behavior and what it is I'm thinking when I spend money, because maybe you can glean a few useful nuggets and show you how to do the same thing. The first thing is I always shop price. Now, everyone says they shop price, but do they really? No. They see the buy it now button, they see the item they want, and 99 times out of 100, they just click that. Maybe they shop price on one or two different things to see if someone has the same item a little bit cheaper, but that's about as far as it goes, and then they hit buy it now immediately. They're not really shopping price. I shop price to an outstanding degree because I have a lot of patience. I don't go out with the idea that I have to get this item right now. I shop price to the extent where I bring my coffee with me when I go on a road trip. I might be leaving to go to a meeting and say I've got a 30-minute drive. It would be nice to enjoy a cup of coffee. And rather than stop and buy a cup of coffee, I just make one and take it with me. Why? Well, because I've already shopped the price. I know it's cheaper to bring a cup of coffee from home or anything than it is to buy it out. That's going to cost me time. That's going to cost me a pit stop, and it's definitely going to cost me more money. So I'm shopping price constantly, but I'm truly shopping price, and I'm doing it with patience. The second thing I do is I'm a master negotiator. So I negotiate everywhere on everything. And I also do it in person. A lot of people like to negotiate, even with me, and they'll try and do it over the phone. And I'm like, look, if you're shopping for this item or you want to do business with me, then get in the room. I get a way better result when I negotiate with people in person than if I'm trying to do it over the phone or they're trying to do it over the phone. Why would I negotiate over the phone? Let's do some real business. So I always negotiate, but I always do it in person. I pretty much shop in person for everything, actually. A lot of people buy everything online, but if I want a pair of jeans, I want to try them on. If I want sneakers, I want to look at the quality. I want to be there. And I also want to get the absolute best price. So I'm going to pre-shop, and then I'm going to go where I know I can get a good deal, and I'm going to shop in person. Have patience and take your time. And always feel free to negotiate. It's the best skill you can use to save $1 and put it back in your pocket. The other thing that I constantly do is I buy what I need before buying what I want. Because if I find that I buy mostly what I need, there's not too much that I want, right? I mean, I need food. I need a roof over my head. I need gas in my tank to get to where I'm going. I need supplies for my businesses. I need to do all those things. But once all those needs are taken care of, there's not much really left in the want category. I mean, I'm pretty satisfied. I have everything I need. And also, if I spend most of my money on the things I need first, and I shop wisely, and I negotiate, and I shop for the best price, then many times I have more money to buy what I want. So that is another reason why I focus on what I need first and always shop for the best price. But put your needs before your wants. Putting your wants ahead of your needs is usually what gets you in trouble in the first place, and you're definitely not going to have extra money to put aside and save. Now, speaking of saving, a lot of people think if they go to a sale that they're going to be saving money. I avoid sales like the plague. What is a sale? A sale is a company or a vendor basically casting out a long line with a hook at the end of it to reel you in. You know, there's companies here in town that do this several times a year, and they'll have these red tag sales and these green tag sales where they're offering crazy discounts. It'll say something like 50% off this weekend only, 70% off this weekend only. My thinking is completely opposite. First of all, I'm not attracted to a sale. If I need an item, I shop around for it at the time that I need it. Even if I want something, I shop around when I want it, when I'm ready to buy, and I buy it on my timeline and my terms. And since I'm always shopping for the best price anyway, and truly shopping, asking for a discount and doing it the right way by negotiating, then I know I'm getting the best price. I don't need to wait for the sale to get the best price to be talked into something that I probably don't need and certainly don't need right now. What are the odds that at the time they're running the sale, that's going to be the best time for me to buy the product? That's just a sales tactic to get you in. Furthermore, my thinking is that if you're offering 50% off on this sale or 70% off this weekend only and somehow still making money, there's only two things that are happening here. One is you're going out of business if you're offering those kind of numbers in reality. Two is if you're offering 50 to 70% off and still making profit, then weren't you just ripping me off the rest of the time? Of course you were. That's 100% what's going on. So I'm not lured in by a sale. I do not go in for that. The next thing I do is I stick to a budget. Maybe you don't have one yet, but I have a budget for what I can just spend on me. That is the want money. I pull that out every week, and if I don't spend it, great. Maybe it can go into another category. Maybe it can go back into savings or a POM account. But I have a budget. Most people have no budget. Their budget is that if they have money, they're going to spend it. So the rich don't do that. They literally have budgets and they stick to them like glue most of the time. If you do that for a long time, then at the end of it, you have some extra that you can work with. You really have to find a budget, stick to it, something that's usable that works for you. Just a minute ago, I mentioned that I ask for a discount. That's kind of a big one. I always ask for a discount. Most people don't realize that it doesn't matter what you're doing. There's probably a discount involved, but almost no one asks for it. I could be at the checkout line at Walmart. I could be at the checkout line at a Home Depot. And I always ask, is there a discount, especially on specific items? And a lot of times they will start rattling down a list and they'll say, well, are you a senior? Well, no, I'm not a senior. They say, are you active military? No. Or anyone in your family? Oh, yes, we have a family member who's a military. Okay, well, there's a discount for that. Sometimes they even look at the item, right? Because maybe the item was already discounted, but it's not in the system yet because a certain amount of time went by and it's kind of last of the item that they have, and now they've started to discount it. So I ask for discounts everywhere I go. You can be walking into a trade show and ask for a discount. You can be walking into Disneyland and there's discounts. There's so many discounts, and usually there's 4, 5, 6, 7 different discounts, and you may qualify for one of them when making a purchase, whatever that purchase is. So I do this all the time. I always ask for discounts, and usually it's there. Why do I do this? My thinking behind it is always, if I can save a few dollars on something, would I rather those dollars be in someone else's bank account at the end of the day or my bank account? If I'm going out and I'm buying a $100 item at Home Depot and I say, is there a discount? Oh yeah, there's a military discount or this discount or active duty discount, whatever the discount is. And they say it's going to ring in at $85. Oh, well, great. That's $15. Would I rather that $15 be in my account where I can then choose to build it up, save it, invest it, do something with it for my future? Or would I rather that $15 be in someone else's account? And this is with any amount of money that I save. Well, of course, we'd rather it be in our own accounts. And the only way you can do that is if you control your spending by doing these specific things that we're talking about here today. Another thing I do is I've sort of turned to quality. You know, when I was a lot younger, I would just buy something, whether it was a pair of sneakers or a cheap belt or a cheap tool. I learned over time that buying quality actually costs less. Why? Because over time you devalue it at a different rate and it lasts you longer, so it costs you less money. I was recently reminded of this by a good friend of mine who is retired now, but he used to own a mattress factory. I mean, a place that actually made and sold mattresses. They had all the machines there for stitching these mattresses together. And he was in the business for many, many years. And he said, you know, people would come in, and in the beginning, you know, I'm always trying to sell them the better mattress, the higher quality. But most of the time, they'd end up buying the mattress, you know, back in the day for $199 or $299. He goes, but I would see them every 2 or 3 years, meaning they would come back in and say, yeah, the mattress was fine, but, you know, we wore through it, or a spring popped, or this, you know, and it wore out. But it was the $200 or $300 mattress. Occasionally, he was able to sell a more expensive mattress, which might have been, you know, $700, $800, $900. I mean, today mattresses can cost thousands of dollars. But he said those people, one of two things would happen. Either he would never see them again. In other words, they bought a mattress that lasted them a long, long time, like more than 10 years, or they would come in after 7, 8, 9 years and say, yeah, that mattress is great. We want another one like that for us because we're going to upgrade and buy a new mattress. And we've actually taken that mattress and stuck it in the kids' room or stuck it in our guest room. It's still being used today. If you buy something for $100 and it lasts you 2 years and you have to throw it away or toss it out or it wore out, well, didn't that cost you $50 a year? If you buy the same item, whether it's a pair of boots or a belt or a sweatshirt or a hoodie or anything, and it costs $200, but it lasts you 10 years. Well, that costs you $20 a year. The thing is, it actually costs less to buy quality. So that's more where my focus is because I'm actually saving money every single year by having that item longer and last for me. Another thing I do is I buy used. Everyone thinks that you have to have everything new. There's a few things that it's nice to have new. I gotta say, it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. I would not want to wear someone else's used clothing or used sneakers, right? Like I do buy those things new, but everything else I'm okay buying used. I buy used cars where someone else has taken the depreciation. I even look to buy, say, something that's kind of used but not really used. Like I own a small construction business, and if I know someone has 50 leftover sheets of plywood from a job, technically it's new, but now it's been sitting on a job site for 30 or 60 days and they're not going to use it. So I might go in and make an offer and buy that at 50%. I do that with lumber. and building materials all the time. So there are many things that you can just buy used, whether it's electronics, whether it's televisions, whether it's a cell phone, whether it's a lamp. Buying it used means someone else took the depreciation and also paid the sales tax. So you don't pay the sales tax when you buy something just peer to peer. It's a great idea to spend your money more wisely by buying used when you can. Another thing I do is I use up what I have. Before, sometimes I used to overbuy on supplies and they would just end up sitting in a closet, whether it was, paper towels or toilet paper or dish soap or anything else for that matter. But now, if it's something that is perishable, I buy it in very, very small amounts and I use it up. We're talking about things like food and fruit and things that might go in the refrigerator. I don't overbuy on anything. I like to use up what I have. It keeps the house less cluttered and I just have less things around to occupy my mental space, but also there's very little waste when you use up what you have. I mean, I even run down the supplies in the kitchen cabinets, right? Some of the non-perishables, but I pretty much do that with everything. And I find I'm doing that now with things like my running shoes. I always had like the extra pair kind of ready to go. And now I really wear them out. And when they're borderline not usable anymore, then I'm going to go shopping. So I tend to do that, meaning I use up what I have. It keeps life simpler. I don't have an overabundance of stuff to just take up my mental headspace and the physical space where I live, which can drive me crazy with clutter. So use up what you have first. It also forces me to stretch things out. If I really stretch things out, then I'm going a longer period of time where my money is somewhere working for me before I have to go spend it on those items again. I also do a no-buy stretch now. So that's kind of like a fun little game that I play once in a while. I like spending money like everybody else does, but sometimes I sort of put myself to the test, right? I'm not like a miser. I'm not hoarding money. I'm not doing that, but I'm mostly focused on what I need. But sometimes, even on the needs, when I can use up what I have, I can sort of enter this fasting period where I'm not spending money. It's sort of like fasting where you're not eating food, except I'm not spending money. And I do what's called a no-buy stretch, right? Where I really try and stretch out the time before I have to go out and spend more money. And sometimes I do it on even things like eating out. We might eat out once a week or twice a week or whatever, but I might say, no, let's use up what we got here. Let's stay in tonight, watch a movie, and make some really good food. It forces me to spend money later on down the line, really stretching out everything I have. And it's also literally stretching out your finances. My money is staying somewhere, parked in savings or parked in a POM account or parked in a high yield fund where I am making some money on it rather than spending the money. And in many cases, the money working a little bit longer is actually giving me those interest payments in which I can now spend it and not even miss it at all. And I love that. So a no-buy stretch is kind of fun, and then to look at the numbers on what you're making. I also trade a lot of items. I've always done this where I like trade. I mean, isn't that the original way that we spent money, right? I needed something, you needed something, and people traded it. This is just going to go back 1,000 years right now where we didn't even have money yet. I grew hay and you had goats, and I would like a goat and you would like some bales of hay. Great. So we traded. So I still do that all the time. I own businesses where we get to trade, which is, pretty awesome. And then, of course, if I'm looking for an item, I may just throw out there, when I find it, if I need something for one of my businesses, and I've done this many times where, let's just say I needed a new vehicle, I needed a van to make deliveries. I may just ask the person who has the van for sale, is there anything you're looking for? And they may say, well, I'm kind of selling the van. It's going to leave some room in my garage. I've always wanted a Harley Davidson, or I've always wanted a speedboat, or I've always wanted, a ping pong table, whatever it is. But if I have access to that, or can maybe work a trade into the mix where I'm either going to pay less or maybe not pay anything at all because I have the item and I'd love to just do a straight swap, I have done this not tens of times, literally hundreds of times. And I've even traded out for service. Someone needs a service that I can provide, or I need a service that they're providing. And rather than pay them in cash, I will pay them with an item, something that they want. And I've traded up into some amazing things, even exotic cars and properties for that matter. Finally, I want to close out by saying that I plan when it comes to my spending. As you can see, I'm doing a lot of things, and I just sort of have this path and this thinking that I follow. When I go into purchasing and spending money, that I'm already going with the idea of saving some money. Because if you can become good at saving as you are at spending, then you're going to have an outstanding financial future. And what are we able to do then? We're able to do the one thing that really makes you money while you sleep, and that is put your dollars to work for you. And the only way you can put your dollars to work for you is if you have more of them available, because you have saved them from the hard-earned dollars you are now making. My name is Daniel F. Margasa. You are watching the Almost Criminal Millionaire channel, and if you enjoy the topics of finance, money, and learning about the health and wealth of your bank account, then please, once again, like and subscribe for more.